first while in a long while. Got Dale behind the camera today. Managed to get him back and help me out with this video. Today we're taking my relatively brand new 98 6.5 diesel GMC 3/4 ton and comparing it to this brand new 2018 Duramax diesel GMC 2500. Technically it's a 2019 model year. One of the things I wanted to compare first was give you a look at the difference in basically another 20-year difference. You see how this is all nice and new, and there's actually a lot of crap under here. There's a lot of electronics, a lot of wires, something you can't exactly work on yourself unless you are a technician and you know what the heck you're doing. But one of the other things that was pretty new for these motors with the L5P Duramax, that's the engine code for these things, is they've got the hood scoop in them. Most of you already know that this draws in about 60% of the air. So it's technically a cold air intake, or ram air, as I would say. Here's your water separator piece right here, and it goes across the hood, comes up through here, and feeds into the main air intake. Now there is an air intake down here that does supply about 40% of the rest of the air, and if the hood vent was ever to get clogged up, it does have enough suction that it will pull from that other air vent down there. Now let's take it over to the 98 6.5 diesel here. Now this is a Detroit diesel. These were never called Duramax motors. They weren't Duramaxes till the early 2000s, and that's when the newer style came out, which would have been the GM truck 400. This is the end of the GM 400 platform. Those would be the GM 800 and 900 platforms that they switched the Duramax into. So now, as we got ourselves a 98 6.5 liter turbo diesel, this truck produces about 195 horsepower at 3,400 RPM. 430 foot-pounds of torque at, I believe, 1,500 RPM. Somewhere in that range. It's old school, it clacks, it shakes, and it smokes like a bastard. That's for sure. Now, you come under here and you look, and it's kind of almost the same thing. You've got a bunch of wires everywhere, and you've got a bunch of hoses. But one of the things that you'll also find about these old trucks is the 6.5s, they had some issues. They all have issues. But the 6.5, one of their bigger issues was the PMDs on the injection pumps, which is this little guy right here, which stands for pump mounted driver. And that controls the fuel supply to the injection pump, and your injection pump is right under here. So if you wanted to get to your injection pump, you'd have to take off this part of the intake and then take off the rest of the intake to pull it out. Now back here, things are fairly easy to access. That's your fuel filter back there. That'll be your fuel filter housing. That whole top part screws off, and then you replace it with a new one. This truck actually used to be an automatic, but has been converted to a manual. Not by me, not by the previous owner I just purchased it off of, but the guy he originally bought it from. This truck does pretty nice. It's an NV 4500 5-speed manual with 410 gearing in the rear end. I kind of wish it was a 3.73 to be honest, because it does rev pretty high on the highway. The turbo, it does boost pretty decently, but I want to get a little more boost out of it. So I'm going to work on that. This is going to be kind of a project build and work on, and you can tell that this truck was a farm truck. It's not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty sure my Silverado looks a little better than this, but I love these old 98, 90, late 90s GM trucks. They're very robust. They're tanks. They're just tanks. So let's come back over to here. Now this motor produces about 410 horsepower and 910 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's quite a difference over that truck right there. But this truck can haul about 23,000 pounds as it is, whereas that truck can only haul about 8,000 pounds. So in 20 years, we've come very far with the way that these trucks behave and the way that they're built. Now, you'll see a lot of electronics under the hood of this truck. You'll come over here, and here's your main electrical center right here, you know, and You've got electronic controls on almost everything inside of this vehicle. You've even got a big turbine housing cover right there. It's crammed in here versus how much space there actually is in the inside of the motor. If I wanted to change my injectors, because here's one of my fuel lines right here. Here's one of your fuel lines. If I wanted to change injectors, I'd have a heck of a time trying to change injectors on this truck. Whereas if we walk over to the 6.5 here, my injectors are just down here. These fuel lines come down and they're pretty easily exposed. But the way that this truck works is it has a pre-combustion chamber. With these newer diesels, they're direct injection. So that would be called an indirect injection, like the old 7.3 IDIs, which stands for indirect injection. So let's come back to the back of the truck. As you can see, this is a crew cab. This is an extended cab. There is no rear doors on this, so it's only pop the seat forward and shimmy on in the back. This truck does have an 8-foot box. It is 4x4. It's got heavy rear end suspension on it. I'd say more leaf than nothing. More leaf spring. Let's see how many leaf springs this one has. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an overload. My truck has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an overload. So it rides pretty rough. Also, this truck does have air suspension on it. Now, one of the other things about this truck, it does ride pretty rough compared to the newer ones, but back in the day, these trucks, like, nobody gave a crap really about how they rode. They were a truck, they worked, that was it. Nowadays, you've got lots of creature comforts in these trucks, and this one doesn't even have an 8-foot box. This one has a 6-foot box on it. You could get a crew cab with these trucks, I believe in a 3/4 ton as well. The only ones you couldn't was the half tons, but this truck's pretty long as it is. But if I had a crew cab with an 8-foot box, this thing would just be super long. They call it the Magic School Bus for crying out loud. So we'll just have a little quick peek inside the cab. You can watch my other videos and check out the other videos on the Duramaxes that I've done. This truck has a bench seat in it, cloth seats. It's got a nice radio in it and everything. But this truck's definitely more refined than what mine is. We'll take a look over at my truck quickly here. Now, it's not clean, it's an old farm truck, so I bought it how it is. I could take that. Alright, so got your old gauge cluster over here. 3 pedals down there, not gonna lie. It's nice driving a manual. And 3 outlets down there to plug stuff in. Aftermarket stereo. I actually really like this stereo. I'll show you what it is. Alright, there we go. It does have a CD player down here. There's my HVAC controls. It actually has an automatic transfer case. Cloth seats, power windows, power locks, and even has its own little key fob right here, which is actually the first vehicle I've ever had with a key fob. I'll just hand this back to Dale now. So the difference between these two trucks is old school versus new school. What does this old truck have that this new truck doesn't, or vice versa? Well, first of all, the nice thing about this truck is I don't have to worry about diesel exhaust fluid or EGRs or anything. This truck is pre-emissions, and I'd like to keep it that way. I like a pre-emissions vehicle. Now, with this, you've got diesel exhaust fluid, you've got a lot of stuff, because here's your diesel exhaust fluid port right here where you would actually fill it up with. And for the 2020 GM heavy duties, they're actually going to be changing that around. As this truck also has 2 batteries, which any diesel will have 2 batteries. That's not something, that's not standard on any of these trucks. Plus also, this truck has a variable geometry turbo, which has vanes that, I guess, change the resistance of the air. I'm not sure how that works. I forget how that works. But we're coming over to my turbo. It's just a standard. It's just a standard turbo. It's a Borg Warner turbo. A lot of guys upgrade it to an HX35 turbo, but I haven't gotten that far yet. A lot of these trucks are still on the road today, especially some of the diesels. There's a lot of diesels still out there of these old GM trucks. And that's good to see because these were well-built trucks. Sometimes they have some problems, sometimes they don't. It just depends. But no, and the rims and tires are here on your 16-inch 265 75 16s on 8-bolt rims, and those are not. We've gone for bigger tires, or well, more or less bigger rims and a bigger tire than what my truck has. Also, the rims are much more prettier on this truck than they are on that truck. So leave in the comments below if I should find a set of rims like this and pretty up this truck a little bit more. Put it on some nice rims and stuff like that. As far as drivability, which one's a little bit better? I'm gonna go with this one. This thing revs pretty high on the highway, and that's due to the fact that it has a 410 rear end. So if I had a 373, it would be a little bit better. I'm assuming this truck actually has a 3.73 rear axle. I believe that is also a limited slip differential on my truck. This truck will likely have a limited slip differential or an automatic locking rear end. Rancho shocks, this one is also a Z71 package. Let's see, yep, 3.73 rear axle ratio. And what that means is it takes almost 3 3/4 of a turn of your drive shaft to turn your wheels once. Now, same principle on the other truck over there. Now, space-wise in this box, you've got a lot of space. Your tailgate comes down nice and easily. You've even got your fifth wheel and gooseneck prep packages, which is nice from factory. Spray and bed liner. A lot of people are going away from the plastic bed liners that used to be in the trucks. I think that was more of an early 2000s thing, but it's nicer to have this because you know then your bed's going to be a lot better protected than just the plastic one, because stuff can get underneath your plastic bed liner and start rusting your bed out. And if you're only keeping this truck for about 2 to 3 years, you don't want that to happen. So putting a bed liner on a truck is a much better idea. Another thing that I absolutely love about these trucks is the corner side step. The corner side step makes it so much easier to get into these trucks, especially if you are an older person that your mobility is a little bit, lax, or well, not lax, but a little bit limited. Another thing with the newer GM trucks, it's going to be coming out for these heavy duties as well, is the 2-piece tailgate, especially like the ones on the half tons. You'll have that nice step, so it'll be even easier to get into this truck. Also, this trailer hitch back here is a nice, massive, I believe this is a Class 5 hitch, and GM actually has a very high towing capacity for conventional towing. They actually do really good on it, and kudos to them, because a lot of people still do some conventional towing, but most people like to use a gooseneck and a fifth wheel. Come over to my truck. Now mine's a little more tucked under the bumper here, but you got yourself a 7-way plug, so if I needed to haul a 4-pin trailer, I would have to get an adapter for that. This is a little bit smaller than that one over there, so this would be either a Class 3 or a Class 4 style hitch. That one's a lot larger. You'd have to sleeve it if you were towing anything like this, but at least you get the option to have a much larger receiver hitch as well. Now, you can tell that my license plate's a little black because this truck is straight piped underneath. I don't know if you can see the pipe, but when I give her it sure smokes. But no, and I would take my tailgate down, but this truck's a little rough. But looking in the bed, I've got lots of storage up here. I still got quite a lot of space. These newer trucks are much wider than these old trucks, so you get a little bit more, but a little bit less. But I'd rather have the 8-foot box on this truck because I know I can load a quad and almost anything. Like one guy's seen load a Prius into his vehicle, or into his 3/4 ton. He was actually here in Brandon, which I was surprised about. But I'm gonna go ahead and fire this truck up.
So, what is that for? Because I'm sure that's a lot of people gonna ask that.
This piece right here is the air inlet, or to add air to the airbags. It looks like a tire cap, which it kind of is. So I'd take air chuck and press it on there, and it'll actually will raise up the truck. There is actually a air pump underneath this truck, but I don't know if it works or not. So I can just plug it up in here, or I can just take an air hose and inflate the bags if I need to, if I'm towing something heavy or something like that, just to sit the truck level so that I'm not getting too much sway out of it. So I'm going to fire up the old diesel, and
it takes a little while to start, so
a couple minutes, yeah.
You're going to hear a lot of cranking. That's kind of normal for this truck.
Yeah, and for people who are going to say, oh, your injection pump's bad, I know it is. I know it's getting to that point where it's time to change it, but you can only do what you can afford, right? There I go. Pretty rough, but that's okay. And it's pretty loud, but with the hood closed it's not too bad. But you definitely want to shut it off in the drive-thru if you're ordering. Now let's take a little exhaust clip of this.
There's going to be a big difference about this one.
Yes, these trucks are much quieter.
And they smoke a lot less.
Yes.
So the cameraman should get blasted with a lot of smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Keys are in the lockbox.
Yeah, that would help. As he's doing that. See, if I can cook a lot more clear and a lot more quiet. And the exhaust smells a little better. Yeah.
Much more quieter.
And a lot more clean.
That is for sure, and that's why a lot of these trucks are having all this emission stuff done on them. It's quieter, it's smoother, it's definitely more ergonomic for a person that's riding in the vehicle. A lot of people used to say, oh, these old diesels, they clatter, they clack. Everybody knows the power strokes, the early power strokes of 7.3 and the 6 liters go clack, 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 clack. 6.5, however, when it's running right, sometimes it'll clack a little bit more. It doesn't particularly clack too much. It depends on the vehicle itself, but then again, you never know. But you can hear how quiet this one is compared to that other truck. I mean, mine's knocking a little bit, but there's nothing I can really do about it right now. I just purchased a truck and I'm kind of just waiting, saving up some money so I can fix it up a little bit better. But you can hear it how quiet this truck idles versus how loud my other truck just roars. And in a drag race, this thing would probably win by a long shot.
Yeah, because it's an automatic.
Well, that too. I mean, if I had an automatic, I don't think it would be any different. I know this one would still win because the horsepower on my truck is like barely 200 versus the torque would be enough to probably keep up with this thing, but this truck weighs in about probably, well, let's see here. Let's see what's on the door sticker. I guarantee it weighs about, your front axle's 52, your rear is 62. So it's about 9,900 pounds, which is actually way heavier than my truck. My truck actually only weighs about, let's see, my truck only weighs about 85. So it's about 1,400 pounds less than this truck. And it's quite a significant difference. But yet this one's able to get more mileage and more towing done than my truck is because it's a bigger frame, it's a beefier frame, but in terms, it's got a lot of electronics, plus it's got a way more powerful motor than my truck is, period. But the nice thing is that I can have a conversation and I can talk to you just normally with this truck. So anyways, stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more on the brown truck there. We call it Detroit or Screamin' Jimmy. Thank you to Murray's for letting me do a quick video here today. I know I haven't posted in a while. Come see them for all your vehicle needs, whether it be a Ram or Chevy, GMC. They'll get you covered. And thank you to Murray Holden for allowing me to do this. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. Send me some ideas, something else I can do. I'm gonna maybe grab a few more of these trucks and just show you the differences in design of these trucks. If we come around to the front here just before we go, you can tell the difference of looking at this truck. Which one, there's a lot more bumper on that one and a lot more face value to it, whereas this one's subtle and short and everything. But they're good. They're both good trucks. And that one will get your job done, and that one will get my job done. That is the way that these trucks are built. You want to get a job done? Get the right truck, get the truck you want. It'll get your job done. I like sticking with my GMs because I know from what these diesels come from. If we didn't have all the emissions and everything, I know that these trucks would be just like these ones, old tanks. But definitely like the newer ones for sure. But thank you again to Murray's for allowing us to do this video. Stay tuned for more. Definitely gonna have some more videos on this truck. Just some different little things that I'm gonna be doing with the truck. Probably give it a fresh coat of paint at some point. And we'll do some more videos on this truck as well, hopefully. Thank you for tuning in. Have a nice day. Please like and subscribe, and check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Have a nice day.